The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
It's the only track in Formula One racing that is a figure of 8. It's also one of the most demanding tracks in all of East Asia. It's a fun track to drive, but it's one that will catch you out, and of course has been the scene of hope and heartbreak over the years. Just ask Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, and so many others. Welcome to Suzuka. Welcome to Japan for the iRacing Le Mans Series here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. Let's take a look at the track then here today, and well, this is an interesting track. It's 76 degrees Fahrenheit with 69% relative humidity. It is partially cloudy skies right now, and we've got ourselves wind speeds of 6 miles an hour. So that's the scene as it is set. We're going to be racing as ever for a total of, well, get this, 60 minutes here today. Going to hand it over to Connery Maddock and Jack Stiles.
Yep, thank you very, very much, Will, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to RaceSpot TV Friday primetime. Qualifying at the moment is underway for all 3 classes that you have in this race. For the LMP1 field, you have Fabrice Cornelis, currently provisional pole with a 136.1. And that is about 0.8 of a second faster than Maxime Briand, currently in second. You've also got your LMP2 field as well. Johan Hath, currently provisional pole. He'll actually head his way across the line for his second time lap. Let's see if he improves on his time just a bit there, just marginally. Still a 145.6. Pascal Stix, also provisional second place in that LMP2 field. You've also got your GTE field as well. 15 cars in this one. Alejandro Sanchez currently leading the way, followed by Patrick Moser. And this is where I bring the one and only Jack Stiles into the commentary booth. And well, this is Suzuka circuit, originally designed as a Honda test track in 1962, but ever since then, it's just been a staple for whatever kind of racing you throw at it.
It's usually associated with the Formula One World Championship. Not often we see, especially the LMP1 machines that we see in this series, around this quite tight and twisty circuit. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys deal with traffic in the S's and in the Snake, but of course Suzuka is always a very historic track, and everyone knows that 130R, that's that flat right-hander in the LMP1s, and it's going to be a very interesting race. Traffic management is going to be very important. Not as bad as somewhere that we see like Road Atlantia earlier on this season, but getting through the traffic nice and safely and cleanly is what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely crucial here at Suzuka as the rest of the qualifying laps will come through. There's only a couple of people out there on circuit looking to improve their lap times right now. We've got the number 18 of Barry Morrison out there, and actually was going to be his first flying lap for that team at Bushfink Racing Machine in that Ferrari there as he heads his way through what is coming to the second half of the lap now, down towards the Spoon Curve. This, well, however many apex you want to have it, corner. Left-hander, fantastic corner. on the edge of grip all the way through here, and then getting on the power early. Important to do that, so you get the run all the way down this back straight, down towards that infamous 130R. We've seen some spectacular crashes at this corner, both in real life and in the sim racing side of things, but since the layout change, it's become a little bit safer, but through there goes Barry Morrison, no problems at all. Looking for the braking zone now, down in towards the Casio triangle, gets car slowed down. It's the first apex quite admirably, and the second. Important to be a little bit more tentative on the power than some other corners through this final corner, because it does drop away from you, and we've seen some cars spin out through there. Only good enough for Pino 36 overall, second to last in your GTE qualifying.
Yeah, not a great lap there from Barry Morrison. He could have done a lot better as we head down to the grid. Not a full pace lap here at Suzuka, but he just sort of starts just after, or just before 130R, and there are some very close lap times. Your whole field spread by about 20 seconds, so your LMP1 cars, especially the fastest ones, are around 20 seconds quicker than your GTE field, Connery. That's going to mean that around lap 6 or 7, you're going to start getting traffic, so it's not going to be very long before those leaders have to start dealing with very heavy GT traffic.
It's going to be very quickly indeed, as we'll just take you through your qualifying results here for the Le Mans Series at Suzuka. Fabrice Cornelis will take pole position there in the LMP1 class of 136.1, and only 1/10 of a second behind, or even less than 1/10 of a second behind, is that car of Marcus Hamilton, your winner last time out at Spa. Third place on the grid goes to Dominic Farber, who was a challenger high up in the on the grid in Spa, so expect him to do very good things in this race as well. Kazuki Umeshima, home race for Kazuki Gun, gets himself 4th on the grid. Maxime Briant 5th. Frederick Evers starting in 6th. I would have expected him to be a little bit further up than that, but let's see what he can do from 6th place on the grid. Thierry Renson 7th. Mikkel Schwanzel there in P number 8. Joseph Burton Harris P number 9. Ishmael Yabuku, P number 10, Julian Rubial, P number 11, and Oli Kvoka, P number 12, in qualifying for your LMP1 class. Looking down towards your LMP2s, though, it's Johan Hart there, P number 13 overall pole position in LMP2. You've got Tom Valenfini, Pascal Stix, and Christian Hewitt rounding out your top 4 on the grid for your LMP2 class. Looking further back, though, you've got Ronnie Durig, Robin Brandon, Neil Andrews, Daniel Barrington, Jesper Dricker, and Ronald Gross rounding out your LMP2 fields. And then we'll look towards your final class here today of your GTE cars. It's going to be Alejandro Sanchez taking pole position, followed by Moser, followed by Silvestri and Kioskulu. David Peña Jimenez will round out the top 5 on the grid. Then you've got Chris Fuller, Eric Vizzi, Florian Dengard, Kevin Siggy, Carlos Dieguez, Bastian Remis, Bruno Fontalba, Michael Ricci, Barry Morrison, and Wim Stockmans will round out your entire grid of 37 cars. It's not going to be too long before we get racing here, because it is, as Jack quite rightfully mentioned, a very, very short, not even paced lap here to get ourselves underway. They're already through 130 now, so it's going to be a bit of a rush to get your classes separated out here. But hopefully we'll manage to do that pretty admirably, as we'll wait to see that pace car dive down on towards the lane. It does so, so field under the control of Cornelis now, and he goes pretty much immediately. Look at the jump that he's got. Green flag racing, we will go here in Suzuka. Battle for P number 2 on, though. Marcus Hamilton versus Dominic Farber. Farber will have to drop back, but the thing is, Cornelis, he's got so early on the brakes coming down to turn number 1. Almost had Marcus Hamilton diving down his inside down into there. We've got Thierry Renson, Frederick Evers there battling for what is going to be P number 6, but Evers will squeak his way by. Looking back at your LMP2 start, though, Johan Hart has got a big jump over Tom Valenfini, Pascal Stix, and Christian Kuert. They're all in line from when they started on the grid. No passes have happened in that particular field yet. Looking back to your GTE field, still Alejandro Sanchez leading the way, followed by Moser, followed by Silvestri, and these guys have gotten themselves very single file very quickly as well. Very clean starts there, Jack, and how many positions change. They just want to get this one going.
Yeah, indeed. So, long race, a 1-hour race ahead of them. Of course, everyone also going to have to bring themselves down onto pit lane at some point to get them enough fuel to get to the end. But nice clean start from everyone, quite close up at the front. Kazuki Nakajima doing far back for position number 3 in LMP1. They were very close into turn number 1. Radical's online driver, usually seen in the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series of Suzuki Umeshima. Number 13 Porsche here today in the iRacing Le Mans Series. And of course, it is a case of making it to the end. Fabrice Cornelis, Marcus Hamilton, two drivers who so often see at the front of prototype fields doing very well. Fabrice Cornelis already a nice sizable gap of 1.8 seconds up at the front of your field.
Yeah, fantastic start by the young Belgian there as he gets himself across the line to complete the first lap of things here at Suzuka. And yes, that gap is absolutely amazing. Here comes the move here, though, for Kazuki Umeshima over Dominic Faber, gets himself into P number 3. And you have to say, Jack, there might have been a little bit of help with the overtake button there.
Yeah, obviously the hybrid systems on these cars are very apparent. The Porsche does have a slightly different way of regenning with the Audi. I'm not sure whether we have any Audis here today. We have two, Julian Rivola and Ismail Yabuki back at the rear of your P1 field driving the Audi. The Porsche looks as though it's slightly better here at Suzuka. But of course that boost, that hybrid boost that you can get just a little bit, and you've already got yourself a 10-15 km an hour advantage in a high downforce circuit. That is critical.
Absolutely. It just means that Kazuki gets himself into P at number 3 right now, and he's looking full of pace today, which what we should expect really with it being his home circuit. He also has very, very good results here in the World Championship Grand Prix Series whenever he visits Suzuka as well. So he's definitely going to be the driver that's going to be on a charge through the field, trying to get back up towards Fabrice Cornelis. But the thing is, he has the small issue of Marcus Hamilton being ahead of him, and I don't know if my facetiousness is showing through on that one, Jack.
I mean, Marcus Hamilton is an absolutely ferocious driver, always very quick. There's a reason why he drives one of the top teams on the iRacing service with Thrustmaster Movano Racing, and you try and get around him. I mean, Radical's online, they are very good on the downforce cars. They're one of the top teams and a team that you always have to look out for. Kazuki Umeshima, a similar thing. He's a very quick and capable driver, but Marcus Hamilton, especially behind the wheel of a prototype car, you cannot find any better. Already looking as though Fabrice Cornelis has extended his lead. Fastest lap last time around, 1 minute 38.144. Lead already out to 2.4 seconds. Kazuki Nakajima looking into turn 1. Not going to be able to get the move done this time, but Dominic Faber still there and looking competitive in the Berlin Simsport car.
Yep, he is, but the thing is they'll all have to follow single file coming up through this highly downforce dependent SS section all the way up the hill, slightly down and back up again towards Dunlop. It's an absolutely fantastic section of circuit to be even behind the wheel of any car going through there. It's absolutely brilliant, but they'll get themselves with that section done through the first and second Degners now. The machine is just going to drop back a little bit as the dirty air effect starts to become a little bit of an issue in these LMP1 cars, but when it comes to the run down towards 1 PR, we can expect them to close right back up and perhaps have a chance down in towards Casio Triangle. Very good on the brakes for Umeshima, though, having got caught up a couple of tenths of a second in the braking zone for the hairpin alone. But look at that, Marcus Hamilton using some of the ERS boost just to get away. But looking back at the other classes, though, in LMP2, still Johan Hart leading away with Don Valentini, then Pascal Stix. But the thing is, this train for P number 2 is actually getting quite considerable, so we might see some fireworks start to go off in this field if they get any closer than they are right now. But right now, there's no active battling, just a little bit of watching, a little bit of stalking there in the LMP2 field. But in GTE, it's Alejandro Sanchez leading Patrick Moser is actually, looking at towards P number 2 in the LMP1 field. Kazuki Umeshima has actually made himself known, made himself by as well. Marcus Hamilton up into P number 2 goes the Japanese driver, and this was down in towards turn number 1. A little bit of the ERS being used off the exit of the final turn, draws himself alongside, and there we go. That one, Marcus Hamilton couldn't really defend it. The overspeed was just a little bit too much. Umeshima had the favorable line as well, so that is how you do it.
Indeed so, and that's what he needed to do. Of course, still a long race to go, 54 minutes remaining. No, not in doubt that Marcus Hamilton will try and get that back. I wonder whether Hamilton will actually just take a little bit more of a conservative approach to this one, Connery. A little bit of fuel saving means that he doesn't have to take as much at the pit stops, though Dominic Faber's looking very, very feisty in 4th position at the moment. He wants to make up for losing a couple of positions. But for Kazuki Mishima, going from 4th to 2nd in the opening laps isn't a bad effort. And for him, he's now sending his side forward to Fabrice Cornelis. Although, as it stands, Cornelis is around half a second, even more quicker over a lap.
Yeah, that gap on the relative is looking rather big right now with only a couple of laps done. 3.4 seconds is the advantage that Fabrice Cornelis has now. So Kazuki Mishima, the advantage for him now is he has a little bit of clear air to run in, so he doesn't have to have cars in front of him slowing him down, giving him a lot of dirty air. He can just get himself basically in quali lap mode to try and get right back up to the back of Fabrice Cornelis, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. Kazuki, a 138 flat like last time by compared to Cornelis's 138.2, 2/10 of a second faster. Kazuki's on a charge.
That's what he needs to do, and if he keeps doing that lap after lap, it will very slowly bring that gap down, and as soon as that gap starts coming down, as soon as he's within a second, he's going to obviously have that draft and that long back stretch into 130R. That's really important. One other thing to remember as well is if Kazuki Mishima is careful with his hybrid, that could really play into his hands. That could be a case of 1 or 2 seconds per lap. But Fabrice Cornelis is not too far away from lapping traffic. He's currently exiting the second Degner, going under the bridge up to the hairpin. Well, the rear of your GTE field, which is currently Wim Stockmann's, is now going through the next corner that Fabrice Cornelis is going to navigate 200R. He will be in GTE traffic by the end of this lap.
And this GTE field hasn't really spread out at all. Alejandro Sanders has gotten away at the front a little bit, but the rest of the field are pretty much in one very long train, so this might be a little bit of a concern here for Fabrice Cornelis, but battling for P number 33 overall, side by side through 130. Barry Morrison down towards the inside, making up for his terrible qualifying. He pulls off a fantastic move there as Bruno Fontalba makes himself his own move down in towards the Cassia Triangle over Carlos Dieguez. So Dieguez dropping 2 positions there, and now they'll have to be looking in their wing mirrors and the rear view mirrors a little bit here, because here comes Fabrice Cornelis. He's going through the pit straight right now and will catch this GTE traffic in perhaps probably the worst section possible.
Indeed, so he's going to have a lot of trouble trying to get past these guys. He hasn't even got past 1 during 1 and 2. Going to the inside into turn number 2 of Wim Stockmann's. That's a very brace. We've got Michele Ricci by the looks of it off on the outside. Very late rejoin as they enter the S's, and Fabrice Cornelis has just got to baby that 919 hybrid through the S's this time, and indeed that's what he's got to do. Kazuki Mishima now is within this gap, but your lead has all of a sudden been halved. It's now 1.6 seconds between the two. If Kazuki Mishima can play one off, he's going to be within a second of Fabrice Cornelis. That is incredible, bearing in mind it was 3.3 going over the line.
Yeah, but Marcus Hamilton got himself blocked by 2 GTE cars going too wide, and coming under the bridge now he might get the same situation, but no, he manages to squeak his way by before that happens. But Dominic Faber's all over the back of him as he tries to negotiate this traffic, both pushing wide there through to the outside line of the hairpin, but none of them go for an off-track excursion there. Now they can get the rest of this GTE traffic done up towards Spoon, and then after Spoon on the run down towards 130R, or at least I hope in terms of this one. Otherwise, prototypes and GTEs going through 130R at the same time never usually ends well. As look at that gap come down. There goes Kazuki Mishima. He actually makes contact with one of the GTE cars. He actually tried to take to the grass on the inside there up towards 130R, but the GTE traffic wasn't having any of it, and perhaps quite rightfully as well. That's you can't pass off the racing circuit. That's the first thing they teach you in racing school, and maybe Kazuki Mishima needs to be reminded.
Yeah, that was a very optimistic move. It just looks as though Eric Vizzi, the Ferrari who he made contact with, looks as though he didn't see him coming. Kazuki Mishima is going very aggressive on the traffic, I would say. Maybe not advisable to do the move that he did. The gap or the lead gap is now down to 1.7 seconds. They have now negotiated most of that leading traffic, and they've now got a couple more cars to do. So for your LMP1 leaders, they are through the worst of it. The LMP2s are now coming out of Spoon Curve onto the backstretch, so still quite a way for those guys to close down the gap. But first time round lapping the GTE traffic, looks as though we haven't got any major drama, just slight contact between Kazuki Mishima and the car of Eric Vizzi.
Yeah, and well, there we go. Suzuki Machine has dealt with all of the GTE traffic, so has Marcus Hamilton as well, as they get past the race leader in GTE, the number 2 of Alejandro Sanchez, Dominic Faba, going for the slightest of gaps over the lap traffic there, but manages to squeak his way by. But the rest of the LMP1 field is still dealing with copious amounts of GTE traffic here, and it's always fascinating to see these prototypes, whether it be LMP1 or LMP2, pass the GTE field for the first time. It's a great display of driver skill if they can get through unscathed.
I was just watching those cars of the 2 Audis in your LMP1 field, Ismail Yabuki and Julian Ribolo, working their way through some traffic out of the hairpin out down towards 200R, and it was quite close to contact between a few of them. They did have to get out of the brakes and get over, get onto the brakes and just move themselves across the track. Almost contact. Your leaders are now clear of that traffic. In fact, most of your LMP1 field is now clear of that leading traffic.
Yeah, as we're on board here with David Pena Jimenez, this is the battle for what's going to be P number 4 out there on in the GTE fields, and Jimenez struggling with the final couple of corners there. Eric Vissel's going to be all over the back of him, may be able to draw it alongside, definitely will be able to. Pulls towards driver's left-hand side, so we'll see on Jimenez's left there. Oh, almost a little bit of door banging coming down in towards turn number 1. Around the outside goes Vizzy, but Jimenez, contact between the two, and they both go for the slide through turn number 2. But there we go. There's Jimenez getting himself back on the racing circuit. Vizzy's only just doing so right now. He came off the worst in that bit of contact, but wow, once I saw them almost bang doors coming down towards turn number 1, I kind of had a little bit of thing in the back of my mind saying these guys aren't going to make it through these 2 corners.
Eric Vizzy as well has lost so many positions. He's now towards the rear of your field. An unlucky incident between the 2 drivers. You can see some LMP1 traffic. That is Ollie Quokka by the looks of it, getting his way through that front runners in your class. He's not going to go into the second Degner. Good decision. Use that hybrid boost. You can see the acceleration difference between the GTE and LMP1 car. But this battle is still on in your GTE class. And for David Pena Jimenez, it's not too much of a disadvantage as Chris Fuller is making contact with the car of Kevin Siggy a little bit. They've got themselves going again, but for the driver of Eric Vizzy, that is heartbreak after almost colliding with Kazuki Mishima just a couple of laps ago as well.
Yeah, and it wasn't exactly his fault either. I mean, it just came up the track a little bit in the middle of the corner, and well, it's just resulted in the incident that you've just seen. I wouldn't expect any particular blame in terms of if this series had penalties, which would get the penalty, but I think it was sort of a racing deal there as Chris Fuller here, P number 29 overall, looking to make the move into 130R over Kevin Siggy. Siggy has to take the more of an outside line coming through 130R. It allows Chris Fuller to gain an opportunity down into the Casio Triangle, but Kevin Siggy very good on the brakes coming through there, manages to secure his position ahead of Chris Fuller.
Chris Fuller, a driver for Torque Freak Racing. They did manage to win the Majors 24 Hours of Le Mans just a couple of weeks ago in this very car. Going to be looking, because they come across the line to start lap number 8. Kevin Siggy trying to defend, but too late. It's coming into turn number 1. He's just going to let Chris have the position. He's stuck on the outside for turn number 2. Not going any way. Is he going to try and go for the undercut? I'm not sure. Kevin Siggy going to lose out to Chris Fuller for a position in your GTE class. That is for position number 6. So all Chris Fuller needs to do, get himself past the driver of Florian Denard, and he is up into your top 5.
Yeah, he is. So we'll just keep an eye on his progress up through the GTE field. But meanwhile, we have a little bit of a look here at the LMP2 field. Although, all that being said, there isn't actually much to talk about with this field because they've gotten themselves a little bit spread out. Not too spread out that battles can't happen, but it's been a little bit stagnant for now. As there we go, number 6 and 7 there, Jack.
Indeed. So, just trying to find out who that is. This is quite a big battle in your GTE field by the looks of it. No, it's not. It's going to be in your HPD LMP2 field. Rennie During and Robin Bondon going to be going for position number 6. And in fact, they have got the driver of Neil Andrews ahead. So this is your battle for position number 5 in class at the moment. Just looks as though nothing's not really happening. They're all spaced out, but there's actually Neil Andrews goes very wide out the second Degner. This is going to leave Ronnie Durig with a chance. Has he got to run into the chicane? I think it's just a little bit too late.
Yeah, Neil Andrews made a complete mess of those two Degmas and gets a little bit squirrely off the hairpin as well. So that car isn't exactly behaving in a way that Neil Andrews is expecting right now, you have to argue. Let's just see if he manages to get himself through the spoon curve okay, or if that back end is going to step out once again coming through these corners. That car doesn't seem to be in any way stable, twitching all the way through the apexes, and I think relatively soon we'll see Ronnie Durek and Robin Bondon get themselves by here, because Neil Andrews, either he has some form of damage, all those tyres have given up in a very, very short time frame.
Yeah, I think it's the tyres aren't really going to go off. They're not even 10 laps old yet. We're not even 20 minutes into this race. So it's quite cool today as well. 31-degree track temperature, 24 degrees in the air. So the tyres are going to be a little bit better. There is going to be some grip out on the track. It's not like trying to drive over an ice rink like we do sometimes see, but of course these tyres are going to go off as they go through the race, and it also depends how hard you're pushing. If you're pushing those tyres hard, as Neil Andrews really does, as we've got a battle for position number 2. Marcus Hamilton, Kazuki Umeshima into turn number 1. Marcus Hamilton easily on the inside. Kazuki Umeshima nothing to answer.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of a clone of the move that was pulled by Umeshima over Hamilton just near the start of the race, just winding things back. It looks like Marcus Hamilton got the run out of the final turn, got the ERS boost overtake button in effect. Actually, Kazuki Umeshima used his overtake button to try and defend that one, but a little bit too late, because Marcus Hamilton was already alongside at that point and with the favourable line in towards turn number 1. So there's Marcus Hamilton back up into P number 2 right now, and all of this is just allowing Fabrice Cornels to extend that gap once again up to 3.6 seconds, which is the margin that we saw more nearer to the start of the race. So he's managed to build that back up.
Yeah, and that's great to see. It's obviously he does have the pace out of the traffic, which is very important. But of course, as we go further and further into this race, is actually in front of Fabrice Cornels. You'll battle for position number 5 in your LMP2 category. Or position number 6, in fact. Robin Bondon is looking to get himself past Ronnie Durek. There goes Fabrice Cornels. Robin going to try and take the draft, but Ronnie going to block it into 130R, so not going to be able to make a move done this time. But for Fabrice Cornels, that clean air pace is what he needs, because if he can get a bit of a gap up over Kazuki Umeshima, depending on how bad his luck is in traffic, he should be able to hold that lead.
We are on board with Robin Bondon, the French driver, trying to draw himself up to the back of Ronnie Durek here, but it's not going to happen by the time turn number 1 arrives. So you'll have to think he has to stay behind for all the SS section now. But no, Ronnie Durek gets a huge twitch coming through turn number 1 and 2, and Robin Bondon almost runs into the back of him. There goes Marcus Hamilton trying to file his way through this traffic that's squirrely all over the racing circuit. But that was a heart-emotive moment both for Ronnie Durek and Robin Bondon there. That's never what you want to see, going through such a high-speed section of turn number 1 and 2 here at Suzuka. The car stepping out. That's just scary.
Marcus Hamilton almost making contact with Ronnie Durek through turn number 7 that time, up through Dunlop. Not actually going to have any contact in the end, but it was very close. Marcus Hamilton maybe getting a little bit aggressive as he goes for Neil Andrews into the hairpin, and this has got to be a case of, Connery, you need to make sure you get your passes done clean and safely, but also try and do them on the exits of corners.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to use the LMP1 acceleration to your advantage with the hybrid system. It just beats pretty much everything off the corners here very, very quickly, and trying to get past traffic using that particular method is definitely the most favourable. As Dominic Farber here getting past that. Oh, there we go. Oh, Jimenez, the number 12. Off into the gravel there at coming up towards 130R, that is. Oh, that must be a huge instant. Here comes the replay though. So this is number 12 of David Peña Jimenez, running quite far up in your GTE field. Let's see what happened to him coming through 130R. Oh, back end stepped out. Oh, that's a heavy impact with the barriers as well. Super scary.
Very scary instant for the number 12, and 130R is a very difficult corner, especially in those GTEs, and it just looks as though, actually, Jimenez may have got the grass on the outside, on that right-hand side, and if you do that, well, you're only destined for a wall at that point.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to put it. So Jimenez out of this event, he's actually down on towards the lane, so I'm not surprised by that one with the damage that he has to his car. But on board now with what's going to be Kazuki Umeshima right now as he heads his way through the GTE traffic yet another time. We're going to get a little bit held up here by Eric Vizzi coming through the first and second Degners, but he'll get himself that pass done right under the bridge where the track crosses itself, and it's one of the very few tracks in the entire world where the track actually crosses over itself like that. Just another unique point about this racing circuit.
The only other circuit that I can think of that is internationally known is Motegi, so it's more of a Japanese thing, I think. And of course, at Motegi, it's the oval that goes across, and Oran Park, but Oran Park unfortunately has been turned into a housing estate now. That was a figure of 8 circuit. Motegi has the oval going across the roads course, as we. It's looking as though the LMP2 field has now managed to get itself up into GTE traffic 3 wide off of Spoon, and I think that was Marcus Hamilton, or at least one of the other LMP1 cars, making their way through the traffic. And this circuit's not very wide. Going 3 wide here is not recommended.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when those when the grass and the dirt and the gravel is so close to the racing circuit. You step one tire out of line, as Herman has found out going through 130R, and you might as well head in towards the tire barrier. As Kevin Siggy versus Chris Fuller now, they're going to get very close to head down in towards turn number 1. The number 15 and the 24 battling it out down in towards here, just a little bit ahead of where we have the onboard right now with Bruno Fontalba, as he tries to deal with the masses of LMP1 traffic that's and LMP2 traffic that's trying to get through on him right now. As Fontalba versus Bastien Remis now. This is the battle a little bit further down in your GT field, and well, these two are both teammates, so hopefully we won't see any fisticuffs yet.
Also, looks as though we have lost Marcus Hamilton's Thrustmaster Movano teammate. Frederick Evans has contact with some back markers, so the first one to go because of a contacted back marker, and he is out. It just looks as though it's just a standard racing incident that we do sometimes see. Is position number 3 in LMP1. Dominic Farber and Kazuki Umashima are going to go at it as they head through 200R this time. But Frederick Evans, first one of your LMP1 field to drop from this race.
Yeah, we're just on board with Frederick Evers for the replay here to see exactly what happened. He just dives it down on towards the lane, and I think just doesn't come out of that one unless there is going to be an early stop. No, he's going to be still on the lane. He's still stationary, and he's pretty much, I think he's gotten out of the car, so I don't think we'll see Frederick Evers come back onto the racing circuit. Meanwhile, Jurek versus Berenson there, and Jurek is very slow coming up towards Spoon. Have they had a little bit of contact? They have had a little bit of contact, and not just a little bit of contact, it's quite a considerable contact. Ishmael Yakubu there in the number 37 car coming across, just swipes at the car of Ronnie Jurek while trying to get past the GTE traffic, and Jurek, he couldn't have done anything. He didn't know that that car was just going to go ahead and just swipe him trying to get past the GTE.
Maybe it looks as though Ronnie Jurek was sat in Ismail's blind spot. That's not an uncommon thing we see in these LMP1 machines. Of course, it's almost like looking out of a letterbox, especially in the Audi, in these LMP1 machines. And if you got a car sat there, there's only a small little window on the left-hand side. There's not going to be much room for Ismail to be able to see that Ronnie Jurek was on that part of the track. It did look as though he was lifting off, so maybe just miscalculated how fast Ronnie was going to get past. But again, another unfortunate incident, and it's one of those things you have to be able to get through the traffic nice and cleanly. As Ronnie Jurek looking as though another car that we've lost from this race.
Yep, definitely. I don't think he's going to come out of the pit lane because it is such a short race that any significant repairs you might as well just not do, and hope you can get into the next official race in terms of that one. But well, looking at the battle for P number 3 right now, this is going to be Kazuki Umashima versus Dominic Farber, and Farber has been very, very quick over the past couple of laps. 139.5 that last time by, which is the fastest of anyone in your LMP1 field on that lap. So definitely catching Kazuki Umashima here with a 140.1, so that's about 0.6 of a second difference last time by between the two drivers. Of course, traffic may have factored into this one. We'll get perhaps a little bit more representative lap time as they head their way across the line this time. A 140.1 for Farber, 139.6 there for Kazuki Umashima. So the lap times are being traded right now between these two, but they do seem relatively similar on pace.
Marcus Hamilton has also managed to close the gap down to Fabrice Cornelis, down to 1.6 seconds across the line last time, although it has already gone out to 2 seconds as they head through the S's this time. So it just looks as though, once again, Fabrice Cornelis, fastest car out on the track in clean air, of course, in traffic, maybe not. It's all about where you catch that traffic here at Suzuka, because some places it plays into your hands very well. The long straights, if you catch them in the S's, it's not going to play into your hands very well. So for Fabrice Corniellis, it's once again about opening up that gap. Not a lot of traffic now for at least the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, just looking at the live track map, there's only a couple of stragglers before they hit any more considerable traffic. So they have a little bit of breathing room to work with here, and a couple of laps where they can just run in clear air without too many worries about slower traffic around them. So that is going to be very good for both of these guys as well. But looking at your LMP2 field, though, those guys are going to be heading themselves through on a little bit of traffic here. Pascal Stix versus Christian Kuit. This is the battle for what is going to be P number 3 now, heading up towards the hairpin. And, well, Pascal Stix involved in a fantastic battle last time out at Spa-Francorchamps. But he's been pretty quiet so far this race, and so has the entirety of the LMP2 field. Just biding his time. Maybe this field will come alive in the second stint.
You never know. We did have a race at Kota where for the first stint, the LMP2 field was absolutely electric. As soon as the pit stop happened, it all just died down and everyone just brought their cars home. The gap between Christian Hewitt and Pascal Stix has now come down to within a second. That gap is now 0.2 of a second as they head into 130R this time. A little bit of traffic playing into Christian's hands and very different lines through that corner. Pascal Stix looking like he has a little bit of a better run down into the chicane this time, and Christian Hewitt, well, bless him, he did try, but he just didn't manage to get the move done.
An attempt was made, shall we say, down in towards 130R, but it just did not happen there for the driver of the number 22, and that gap is going to be pretty similar as they head their way across the line. Just a tenth or so of a second between these guys right now as they head their way through the first sector for the 16th time for these LMP2 cars. But this just gives us a little bit of time to look further back in your GTE field here. Chris Fuller once again in a battle right now, this time with Florian Denard, driver of the number 21. Looks for the outside, coming in down in towards 1, looks at the cut back, but the thing is Denard is running a very, very good defensive line coming through those 2 corners. Fuller with the acceleration off the corner, looking for any gap possible coming up through the S's, but still not able to find one. And Fuller now has to stay behind for all the way until the Degners, I believe, now.
Yeah, there's not really an opportunity to pass coming up through this section of the circuit. Chris Fuller is trying, but he's not trying hard enough, I don't think. Tilt Freak Racing, he's going to go down onto the left-hand side of the circuit, and actually that was a Florian Denard. Maybe it looks as though he just let him through there. Has Chris Fuller got slightly better pace? We do not know. There is also a battle for position number 3 in your GTE class going on. That's between Vincenzo Silvestri and Nestoras Kigalusu.
And Silvestri, actually one of the few 4GTs that we have here today in the GTE field, and I'm just trying to look for another 4GT, and I don't think we have one scrolling back through the field here. Actually, he is the only 4GT running in P number 3, so that's a fantastic run for him so far in this race with the car that's not exactly favored, shall we say, for drivers out there. It's a little bit sketchy with the way it drives. It drives completely differently from all of the other GTE cars, which is why some drivers don't really like it and would prefer to go for the safety of either the Ferrari or the Porsche.
I agree, actually. The 4GT is very difficult to drive. It drives more like a prototype. Of course, also looks like a prototype. It's not very tall at all. Looks as though Nestoras did go for a move into the chicane this time. He did get very close between the two. Not much going to happen. I think maybe that actually hindered the car that's currently in position number 4 in your GTE class. But the 4GT is a very difficult car to drive, although it is good to see it's out on track today. Most of your GTE class is represented by the Porsche 991 RSR. Today we do have a few Ferraris and of course this singular Ford currently running in P3, so clearly showing that Vincenzo knows something about this car.
911. We're not trying to call the emergency service for America here. It's 911. But there we go. Marcus Hamilton on towards the lane for his one and only scheduled stop here, and he's the only car down on towards the lane right now taking a scheduled stop. The rest of the prototype field looks like they're going to miss the pit lane this time, at least as far down as P number 8. Julian Ribelau, maybe he looks to come down on towards the lane this time. No, he's going to stay out. So this is a very, very early stop. Marcus Hamilton all alone down on the lane.
Looks as though he's going for the perfect half and half strategy, Connery, because he has pitted at 29 minutes, 30 minutes to go. So he's going for splitting this race in half, but he is going to have to take a little bit more fuel. All these drivers now who've stayed out are now going to have a little bit more advantage where they're going to get a slightly quicker pit stop if they can pull it off. Of course, the battle that we do need to keep an eye on is, of course, Marcus Hamilton, Kazuki Umeshima, because they were very close on circuit. And if Kazuki can get a jump on Marcus in the pits, if Marcus has got his strategy just slightly wrong, that could cost him not 1 but 2 positions, because Dominic Farber is not that far behind Kazuki Umeshima, only around half a second.
Essentially what Marcus has done here is he's found a little bit of the clear air to slot himself into. Just looking at the live track map, he's got a country mile between the cars ahead and the cars behind, so he can run very, very quick outlaps here and perhaps get the jump over the likes of perhaps what is going to be Fabrice Cornelis, extend his gap over Kazuki Umeshima and Farber. So that's the strategy card being played right now. Oli Kruka down on towards the lane. The last car in your LMP1 field decides to take their service now, and again they are the only car on the lane. But now there we go. Fabrice Cornelis, Kazuki Umeshima, Dominic Farber down on towards the lane. So Kruka is a little bit less lonely.
He is indeed. A couple of GT cars also making their way down onto pit lane. By the looks of it, Michele Ricci, he's out of the way. Very good burnout from him as he pulls away from his pit stall. Your LMP1 leaders are now going to be coming to a stop. Just to let you know, Marcus Hamilton, 17-second pit stop, 41.5 seconds from the start to the end of pit lane. That's what these drivers have to beat. They are going to have to take a little bit less fuel. But a good strategy call, I'd say, by Marcus Hamilton. He is, of course, now coming across the line. So I believe Dominic Farber gets going. Has he actually made the jump on Kazuki Umeshima? Umeshima's also got going, so no changes by the looks of it in your LMP1 field.
He's side by side with Cornelis coming in towards turn number 1 and 2, but he's not able to make anything work. So that was almost perfectly timed there for Marcus Hamilton, but the margins were so slim that Cornelis manages to get himself off of the lane quick enough to get himself ahead. Here's a replay. As you can see, there's, I believe, Marcus Hamilton coming out the final corner now. There goes the car of Fabrice Cornelis coming out of pit lane. Let's see how close they were. Going down in towards turn number 1. Hamilton almost drew his car alongside, but that is going to be Cornelis managing to squeak himself ahead there. So leaving it very, very close with the margins, but he still has the race lead when all is said and done.
I think for Cornelis, might need a change of underwear there, because it was very close into turn number 1, but good defending by himself. And of course, even though, actually looking at the pit stop times, it looks as though Fabrice did have a longer stop. Kazuki Umeshima going a second shorter than Marcus Hamilton, 16 seconds. That is the fastest pit stop though in your LMP1 field. Goes to Ismail Yakubu. He stopped in 15.4 seconds. That is the shortest one we've seen so far today. Just one driver left to come down onto the lane from LMP1. That's Maxime Brent, and he is down this time.
Oh, Marcus Hamilton, so aggressive all over the back of Cornelis right now. They're going to get caught by the GT traffic in the Casio triangle, as they will re-inherit the P1 and P2 this time by across the line. There we go. Cornelis is going to get blocked by the GTE car, and Marcus Hamilton's going to shove him along the racetrack there from behind. Hamilton still has the opportunity. Overtake button in effect. Marcus Hamilton race leads.
With the hybrid, he goes through. A little bit of contact between the two. Bump drafting in LMP1 cars is not recommended. Looks as though Fabrice Cornelis just got his positioning wrong out of the final chicane. Barry Morrison in the TBR Ferrari doing nothing to help Fabrice. And, well, for Marcus Hamilton, nice and easy overtake. Nice and easy up into the lead. But for Fabrice Cornelis, he knows he has the pace and clear air over everyone else in the field. So he is able to, he has got the chance of getting himself back and pulling away.
Yeah, exactly. It was the pit stop strategy that got Marcus Hamilton into this position, and just a lap or so later, he managed to make the move stick, albeit with a little bit of help there from the traffic ahead of him. But now they're following absolutely nose to tail, coming through the hairpin in the middle of the lap, the turn number 11 hairpin there. On the run down towards Spoon now, and this is the run where we saw this exact section of circuit where we saw that huge incident in the Pro Series for this year's World Championship Grand Prix Series involving Sebastian Job and a couple of other cars just spinning right across the grass there, but they managed to get themselves through that relatively okay. But now, there we go, Marcus Hamilton using the RS to try to pull a gap now over Fabrice Cornelis, and now Cornelis is put into a situation where perhaps he didn't think he would be in with that 3-second or 4-second gap after 4 laps done.
No, indeed not. And while all that was happening, Dominic Farber as well managed to move his way up into Kazuki Umeshima. Almost identical move into turn number 1 on the very same lap, Connery. So changes to position number 1 and position number 3 in your LMP1 field, both at the same corner.
Yeah, absolutely great to see. But this battle for the race lead in LMP1, this one's going to be absolutely brilliant because look at that, there's a GTE traffic right in the middle of the racing circuit, and Marcus Allen's going to get blocked. Here comes Cornelius around the outside of the S's. Fantastic move there, fantastic opportunistic move there from what's going to be Cornelius, but the thing is that GT car gets shoved off of the racing circuit. That's how ferocious this battle is being right now. That was Marcus Hamilton giving him a little bit of the door there, but now Cornelius back ahead, but there's yet more GTE traffic to deal with.
For a very brief moment, they were 3 wide, and that's not somewhere that you want to go 3 wide, down into the Degnus this time. 2 GTEs ahead of them, although I would probably guess that that's going to be nice and easy pickings for these 2 guys. Actually, for Marcus Hamilton, he's going to clear 1. Maybe not the other. Is this Fabrice Cornelius' chance to get a little bit of a gap? Marcus Hamilton very quick on the hybrid out of the corner, down into 200R for the 22nd time, and for Fabrice Cornelius, I think he's got pulled out a little bit of a gap, 9/10 of a second now. Is this where it's going to happen?
Might potentially be. Look at the traffic coming down in towards 130R. I think Marcus Hamilton is going to be more affected by this one than Cornelius is, as Cornelius manages to get 2 of those GTE cars done before the corner, but Marcus Hamilton has to deal with all of them coming up in towards the Cassia Triangle. Deep on the brakes he goes, trying to get this traffic sorted so he can have another look at Cornelius, but Cornelius has managed to make mincemeat out of the traffic, manages to pull himself away, and Hamilton now is going to be, as they come across the line, towards the second behind now.
Yeah, and he's going to be out of draft range before long if he's not careful. Fabrice Cornelius very aggressive with the traffic with Chris Fuller. That leaves Marcus Hamilton a gap to go through. And I don't know whether the gap has closed. It's down to 7/10 of a second now. So playing into Marcus Hamilton's hands once again, as they actually hit LMP2 traffic at the same time as well. Ron Jurek, the next car for these guys to navigate as they head up through Dunlop once again. But of course, Marcus Hamilton and Fabrice Cornelius, they need to be patient in traffic. If they start getting too aggressive, that's when mistakes get made, and that's when problems happen and accidents happen.
Yeah, just tell that Fabrice Cornelius' teammate of Patrick Wolff last time at Spa-Francorchamps got himself involved in a bit of a traffic issue down into Ravage, and they managed to put him down way down the field in your LMP1 class. He was leading quite comfortably at that point, but that's just how quickly traffic can ruin your race. Now they're in clear air. We have a couple of LMP2 cars down on towards the lane at this time, so their pit service window is definitely open at this point. Johan Harth just coming off of the pit lane right now. So will Pascal Stix and Christian Kiewit, as Stix and Kiewit, they're very close coming off of the pit lane. They might actually make it side by side coming through the pit lane exit here. So there we go. Pascal Stix will have to fall in line though, as that white line does tend to run out there as they come up and towards turn number 1. But here's a replay on screen of that one. So close coming off the lane.
Looks as though also Christian Kiewit did get the position from Pascal Stix on pit lane, so using strategies to his advantage, getting the undercut, and well, he's gone through, made himself up another position, and I believe that is in fact a podium position in that class, Connery. So this is a very, very competitive position to get on into, especially in this class. Lots of points on offer. The more points you can get, the better you're going to be come the end of the season.
Yeah, we're on board with Kevin Siggy right now, trying to chase down the car of Florian Durand. So this is the battle just for P number 7, P number 6 in your GTE field. Of course, these cars haven't come down on towards the lane for their service just yet. They're usually the ones that stop much later than the other 2 classes. So we'll see them come down more towards the end of the race after the LMP2s have done their service.
Yeah, I'd expect to see the GTE field down onto the pit lane in around the next 4 laps. Usually around this point. We've got 20 minutes remaining in this race. They're doing around 2-minute lap times. So it's going to be around another 4 laps before we start seeing everyone down onto the pit lane to get themselves a nice splash and dash to get to the end. It's not going to be a long stop as Neil Andrews brings himself down onto the pit lane from LMP2 second position. The number 11 machine going to get his service. The number 17 and another driver ahead of him. That's the car of Robin Bondon, who we saw earlier on having a good battle. Neil Andrews out and away. 14.5 second stop, so he's now refueled to get to the end of the race, dropping back behind your battle between Christian Kiewit and Pascal Stix.
We are having a look at the battle right now. P number 3 overall, Dominic Faber versus Kazuki Umeshima. We're on the onboard here with the driver of the number 13, the Japanese driver. This driver, which Suzuka is his own home circuit, always pulls out some brilliant results here. And well, he's hoping to do the same again today. P number 4 in qualifying. Currently P number 4 in this race, but he has managed to get himself up into P number 2 earlier on in this race. And I think Marcus Hamilton for Fabrice Conrad is a little bit too far down the road for Kazuki Umeshima to be able to do anything here, but he can do something about Dominic Faber as he actually gets his teammate here. Oh, not his teammate, sorry. That's actually, that is his teammate. It's just two slightly different liveries, two classes there for the Radicals Online drivers there. As there isn't really a consistent livery pattern there for the Radicals Online cars, which is why I was a little bit confused.
Which is, of course, fair enough. The gap between your leader Fabrice Cornelis and Kazuki Umeshima in 4th position, as he has a battle for 3rd with Dominic Faber, of course, is around 9 seconds. So a little bit too much for Kazuki Umeshima to gain back in the remaining 18 minutes of this race, I believe. Battle for your lead is, of course, still going on. Marcus Hamilton and Fabrice Cornelis are currently split by 0.7 of a second. And in fact, Fabrice Cornelis has had some clear track, Connery, but he hasn't been able to get away. I wonder whether Marcus Hamilton has used the strategy well. And Fabrice Cornelis is all of a sudden is down into the chicane this time. Marcus Hamilton a lot quicker off a 130R, almost making contact in the chicane. Going off the chicane, who's going to have more boost and who's going to be braver into turn number 1? That's going to be the question. Of course, the gap will come down. Marcus Hamilton on the boost button already. Cornelis to the inside to try and defend. Well, Marcus Hamilton already got the overspeed and ran the outside into turn number 1. Fabrice Cornelis going to try and fight back. Hamilton shuts the door at the final moment into 2. Well, for Fabrice Cornelis, he just now needs to sit and wait.
Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic dogfight right at the front of the field, but the thing is, it might be disrupted yet again because of LMP2 traffic this time. And well, we've seen many opportunistic moves already. Maybe we'll see a couple more. Here we go. Fabrice Cornelis right on the back of Marcus Hamilton up towards the first Deckner now. Has to fall in line. Can't go for a move down the inside through there. Otherwise, you pretty much take both of you out if you try that particular move. But here we go. Up towards the hairpin again. Cornelis is going to get stalled there by the two cars going side by side ahead of him around the outside. The unfavorable line through the hairpin he has to take there with Christian Kiewit on the inside line. But two opportunities there for Fabrice Cornelis, both of which he couldn't take because the way the traffic was sorting itself out.
And of course, that's another thing with single class racing. It's not too bad with traffic. With multi-class racing, you do hit it at certain points. Looking at my live track map, there is a couple of LMP2 cars ahead of the leaders. That is a nice clear track. They're going to probably get a few leaders. The big packs of cars are currently running through the S's and are just a few seconds behind your two leaders at the moment. Marcus Hamilton has been able to get a gap 0.9 of a second, and I wonder, Connery, whether he's been very conservative with his hybrid power, whether Fabrice Cornelis has been much more aggressive, very heavy over the curbs. So I'm in the chicane. You've got to be careful, actually, not to get floor damage, especially riding the curbs that hard.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing is mold in iRacing, and well, also it's the also banging the front split or the front clip on the ground as well can also cause you a little bit of damage. There's P number well, it's going to be P number 22 and the 26 here, so P number 3 and P number 4 in your LMP2 field. They are very, very close indeed here. Christian Kiewit versus Pascal Stix versus actually no one else, because that's an LMP1 car behind there in Dominic Faber, so he'll get himself involved and disrupt this battle a little bit as they head their way through the S's. Around the outside goes Faber, and he slots himself in between your two fighting LMP2s.
And that's what he needs to do, nice and cleanly through the traffic. Kazuki Umeshima also has to get past, and I think for Kazuki, he hasn't been able to do it. Both of them haven't been able to do it into the Degners this time. Dominic Faber does clear the number 22 of Christian Kiewit. For Kazuki Umeshima, he just has to wait until after the chicane. Pascal Stix making contact with the rear left of Kazuki. Almost disaster for the number 13 on Friday the 13th. Some people would find that unlucky, of course. But for Kazuki Umeshima, back to normal, and all he needs to do now, reclose that gap to Dominic Faber, put pressure back onto the number 31 Berlin Sim Sport machine.
Yeah, Kazuki has really come out top in terms of the, well, actually, Dominic Faber's more come out on top of the traffic management battle that they had going through there. So there we go. Kazuki has to try and, again, make up that gap. So that's kind of a theme right now for Kazuki. Since the start of the race, he's always chasing, always having to make up for lost time. And as a result, it's put him pretty much where he started in P number 4, even though he has been as high as P number 2.
Yeah, indeed so. For Kazuki Mishima, I think, coming towards the end of the race, maybe the tyres are going off just a little bit. Very aggressive down into turn number 1 on the traffic. You can see that he is pushing. It maybe looks as though Dominic Faber might have saved his tyres for later on in the race, and the same goes for Marcus Hamilton, Fabrice Cornelis. That battle, of course, is still going on, but Fabrice hasn't been able to get his way back through. He's going to try into Degner. Marcus Hamilton blocks the inside line. That's the line that Fabrice wanted. Marcus Hamilton doing the same thing into the second Degner. But he's making it very hard for Fabrice Cornelis, who knew that a car, which is actually quite narrow, Connery, could be the same width as Suzuka.
Yeah, and Fabrice Cornelis rocks up, coming down into the hairpin, tries to follow so closely to the rear wing there of Marcus Hamilton, or the rear aerodynamic assembly, or whatever you call it, in these LMP1 cars. His GTE leader has come down on towards the lane. That's Alejandro Sanchez. But I just want to go back to talk about that as the GTE field will get their almost all of their pit services done here. Fabrice Cornelis' braking performance was reduced there by following so closely to the back of Marcus Hamilton. He wasn't getting any of the aerodynamic braking, which is why he basically just locked up the brakes there.
Yeah, of course, the brakes on these cars are extremely strong. You do get braking from the hybrid regeneration system as well, and in fact that acts as a brake when you lift off the throttle. They say it's around 1G of force that's slowing the car down, but for Fabrice Cornelis, and the aerodynamics on these LMP1 machines are very important for getting you stopped and getting you through the corner, and it just didn't have that into the hairpin that time. And in fact, Marcus Hamilton now 1.5 second gap. I think Marcus Hamilton is using the hybrid much better than Fabrice Cornelis at the moment.
Yeah, I think he is as well. But the thing is, we can't count out, shall we say, Fabrice Cornelis right now. He had a very, very dominant first stint, but it started to fall apart a little bit in the second one. But he's still in with a shout here of the race lead. I'm just looking at the track map. It's going to be just the drips and drabs of GTE traffic from this point forward. So no huge trains and huge packs of cars to have to deal with, at least in the near future right now. Maybe we'll see that towards the end of the race, but right now these guys are in a little bit of more comfortable position right now with the traffic situation.
Yeah, and I think for traffic that's very important. Your GTE cars that did pit last time around, they did actually, I would say actually they got the bad luck on the traffic. They were spit out into a lot of LMP2 traffic looking at my track map. And for the cars that haven't pitted yet, who are going to be pitting this time by the looks of it, currently being led by the number 5 Hellenic Racing Machine. They're going to bring themselves down onto the lane this time around. So second round of GTE pit stops are go. Of course, everyone going to be pitting once throughout this race in all of your classes. But one thing to point out, Connery, some of the tracks, the LMP1s, it is very close to making it on one stop. You do sometimes have to fuel save, Monza especially. I've found personally that fuel saving is needed at a track where you're on throttle a long time. Suzuka is another one, so we'll be surprised to see if some of these drivers are actually fuel saving here today just a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but with the pit stops with only 11 minutes to go, I think most of these guys will be absolutely fine getting to the end of the race. Now we'll see the rest, all those, the string of GTE cars there coming off of the lane, involving a couple of cars there. Von Tauber there as we zoom in on his car there. Say hello for the camera there. But there we go, Bastien Remis there as well, getting himself off the lane. So that is pretty much the vast majority of your GTE pit stops done right now. We still have a couple of cars to wait on to come down on towards the lane, but they are pretty much fueled up to the end. Note, actually, whether they've taken tyres in GTE, they can take tyres at the same time as the fuel in those cars, but with the race this short, maybe some might have forgotten the tyres this time.
Honestly, it's not worth taking the tyres, not for 10-11 minutes, and the tyres are actually going to take longer than the fuel here. Fabrice Cornelis, very aggressive, but for GTE, it's just a case of keeping those tyres fresh till the end. They can do an hour. Of course, in the real world, on full fuel, they do an hour, and it's the same when we go to somewhere like the iRacing 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is, of course, coming your way in a few weeks' time here at RaceSpot TV. They will be doing 1 hour stints, and those tyres will have to last an hour, but around here, it's a lot more aggressive on tyre wear, which is also very interesting to watch, because some of the drivers will be managing it throughout the race, and some drivers will be thinking, 20 minutes to go, I've got no tyres left.
Something may have happened to Thierry Renson here. We're just looking through the replays to see exactly what may have happened to his car. As up towards the Casio Triangle, he's pretty okay. We have no idea where this one is, so we'll have to see it on the screen. There's a little bit of a puff of smoke there as cars go off. Oh, there it is. Contact coming through the final corner with the GTE car. And I think that's the incident limit there for Thierry Renson, just getting disqualified from the event.
Yeah, that's also another thing that you do have to be careful of. It's usually not apparent here at Suzuka. You do have to be very careful at other places. The incident limit is 17, so it's manageable in an hour race, but you do have to be very careful with those off tracks, especially if you're in a faster class, because you are running sometimes off the track to avoid slower class drivers, and that can sometimes play into other people's hands, and it's a lot of lost points there for that driver who has just unfortunately found that the incident limit does very slowly creep up on you.
Yes, it really does, and we saw that quite a bit at Spa as well, with the off-tracks being really, really vicious on the iRacing service. If you step 1 foot out of line, you'd get 1x immediately, and as a result, even in an hour-long event, drivers were kind of struggling a little bit to keep themselves under the 17 instant point limit for an hour race. So that is definitely a concern. There's less of a concern here at Suzuka, even though the track limits are quite tight here, but they're more enforced by the fact that the grass and the gravel is so close to the racing circuit rather than any considerable runoff.
Yeah, it just looks as though the instant limit is, of course, creeping up on some drivers, and when we head to Spa next weekend for the iRacing 24 Hours of Spa, don't be surprised to see teams not in the hundreds of incident points, in the thousands of incident points. It does happen, and you will see a lot of drivers lose their pro licenses and have to work like crazy to get them back ready. And actually, maybe we might see some of the pro drivers actually go, you know what, I'm not going to risk my license to race in this one.
Yeah, as we see another incident there. Yeah, that's Silvestri, part of the GTE field, getting himself in an altercation up towards the Casio Triangle. But since you are here, Will, any special comments before the end of this race? We've got about 5 minutes to go. Who's your pick out of Cornelis and Hamilton?
Hamilton. I think he's going to keep it. And one thing I was going to talk about is that, of course, we actually, as RaceSpot TV, did the first ever 24-hour race. We talk about lots of incident points, Jack. There is one team who has a record of having very few. In fact, I believe that Martin Kroenke in that 24 hours of Spa race we didn't get a single incident point.
I need a driving lesson off Martin, because over the last few months, every time I've raced at Spa, I've been disqualified. So
I will say one thing as well. After this race, I have an announcement.
An announcement? Is it something we already know, or is it something that we don't know?
You'll find out.
Ooh. That's one excuse to stay tuned for the post-race show if I ever saw one, but the race is still live right now. We've got about 6 minutes to go here. In fact, we took over exactly 6 minutes there. This battle between Marcus Hamilton and Fabrice Cornelis still rages on at the front of your LMP1 field for the overall race lead. Gap is sitting at about 1 second out there on the circuit. But in terms of your LMP2 battles, the closest one out there right now is for P number 2 in that class. So LMP1 battle for LMP2 battle for P number 2. Johan Haaf versus Christian Hewitt there, trying to close the gap a little bit as Christian Hewitt, but he did lose. Actually, he gained a lot of time that last time by. About 9/10 of a second was gained by the number 22, so he's in a very good position now to challenge the race clutch driver of Johan Haaf. Gets so close coming up through the final couple of corners through the Casio Triangle. Not really going to be able to get the power down coming through the final corner. It's so squirrely coming through there. The track drops away from you. It's a little bit off camera as well, so that just exacerbates the issue. But Hewitt not close enough down in towards turn number 1 now. We'll have to stay in line just for now and have another shot at P number 2 just a little bit later. But looking through for your GT3 field right now, battle there. Chris Fuller versus Barry Morrison, the 24 versus the 819, as we have a bit of a whoa there.
GT3 field, Connery.
Whoops.
I know you've been away for a while. Come on.
They sound very similar, okay, I'll use that as my excuse, but Chris Fuller and Barry Morrison here battling for P number 24 overall. That's going to be P number 4 in their particular class. So the two, I believe the two British drivers will decide to have a little bit of a fight at the end of this race, perhaps, as we get nearer and nearer as the minutes tick down and the seconds tick down as well. But looking up through, Jack, you actually have something.
I do. Looks as though we've had an incident between Robin Bondon, the driver of Neil Andrews, and one of the GTE cars. That is your Porsche 911 RSR. Bruno Fontable into the chicane. Just looks as though Neil Andrews making contact with the race clutch LMP2 machine. And while Bruno Fontable was a little bit unlucky in that one, he's going to have heavy left-hand damage to that number 8 machine. Currently running in around 8th position in GTE. But for your LMP2 field, especially for the likes of Neil Andrews, someone who was running up in the top 5 or towards the top 5, he's just had another big blow to his race.
There we go. We see Robin Bondon come through 130R, and we'll see a bit of a catastrophe. There we go. Down in towards the Casio Triangle. Gets on the grass a little bit on the left-hand side there. The car just wasn't really having any of it. And as a result, a couple of cars involved in that one down at the Casio Triangle at, well, getting very near the end of this race now. Coming up to around about 3 minutes to go. The battle for the race lead is still on, although the gap has come up just a little bit, as actually I am completely wrong. They have well, actually I'm completely right. I almost thought they swapped positions there, but they managed to not be able to do that. Maybe the traffic was confusing me a little bit and the timing, so there we go. Marcus Hamilton still leading by about 1.3 seconds that last time by, and I think this gap is going to extend a little bit as they come across the line. Let's see what it's going to be. It's going to be 1.7 seconds now that Fabrice Canales has to catch up in the dying moments of this race. And, well, I have to say, Jack, without any interference with the traffic, I think Marcus Hamilton has this.
Yeah, I think so. Just 2 more laps remaining for these guys now, and for Fabrice, he's going to try to go around one of your GTEs. He is indeed. Bruno Fontable was caught up in that incident a couple of laps ago, but for Fabrice, I would actually say maybe he's getting a little bit aggressive in traffic, and that might be hindering him just a little bit. Gap field lead already out to 2 seconds on this lap. So for Fabrice going yellows, actually, he needs to be very careful, because if he pushes just too much, he's going to lose. He's actually going to lose second position. So for Dominic Farber, he is quite a way behind, and he's now entering the Degners. Fabrice does need to be careful not to throw it all away. I think he just needs to start settling down, get into that groove. With 1.5 laps remaining, Marcus Hamilton has got this now, barring any incidents.
Yeah, P number 2 is still a very, very good result for Fabrice considering the standard of the field, but he'd definitely be sort of kicking himself right now that the race win might have just gotten away. Of course, it isn't over yet. We've got about a lap to go the next time they head their way across the line. Anything can happen to shake up this battle for the race lead in your overall standings. But looking back at your LMP2 field, this one's getting very close. 3-car train right now for P number 2. Johan Harf versus Christian Kiewit versus Pascal Stix right now, who's a little bit further back off this pair, but definitely within a shout if these guys start battling and bringing themselves back to him. So this is going to be the main battle that we're going to be watching now for the end of the race. The battle for P number 2 between 3 drivers in LMP2.
Yeah, LMP2 is always a very exciting class to watch, and into the Degners this time. Christian Kiewit hasn't got anything to answer to Johan Harf. Harf obviously won last time out of Spa, getting almost sideways off of the second Degner. One of the LMP1 cars going to hold back into the hairpin. Kiewit's going to try the outside line. I don't think he's going to be able to make it stick. So for Christian Kiewit, he just needs to sit back and be patient and let the LMP1 machine and Michael Schwanzer go around the outside. He's actually going to get blocked. So for Christian Kiewit, down the inside of 200R, nice and easy pass. Johan Harf, he's going to try and get back on that one.
Yeah, these guys, as when they head across the line next, will still have one more lap to go. Marcus Hamilton and the rest of the LMP1 field, they are on their final lap right about now. Kazuki Umeshima and Dominic Farber, they are still very close, so we may still have a battle on here for the final step of the podium in your LMP1 class. They're heading their way through the turn number 11 hairpin right now. Umeshima, very, very close in this sort of situation. He can have the run down in towards, if not Spoon, he can have the run in towards Casio Triangle if he uses his ERS strategically coming through here. Onto the brakes now through the Spoon Curve, the double apex left-hander. And a good run has to be required off of this corner here. I think Faber has just used, could potentially use his overtake button to defend here as Omashima uses it to attack. Will catch up down towards 130R, but looking at your race leader, he's going to shake the checkered flag. Marcus Hamilton will be your race winner 2 weeks in a row here in the iRacing Le Mans Series, but Dominic Faber and Umashima still battling up through the Casio Triangle. Dominic Faber will come out on top for P number 3 there as he heads his way across the line right about now. There we go. But looking back through towards your LMP2 field with this battle for P2, Christian Kiewit, after getting that pass done on that last lap, has managed to get himself a little bit of a gap over Johan Huff. Sticks is also involved in this one, but we just actually didn't manage to see the GTE race leader come across the line. Alejandro Sanchez come across the line pretty much the same time as Marcus Hamilton did, so perhaps he was in the camera shot, but there we go. Alejandro Sanchez, your winner in your GTE field. But Kiewit versus Harp versus Sticks, that one is still relatively close, but not as close as we saw it a lap or so ago. I think the main opportunity here is going to be Pascal Sticks on Johan Harp to get the final step of the podium in LMP2. Following closely now through the Spoon Curve, through the second apex of Spoon Curve, and Sticks now, he has to be eyeing up the move on the brakes now, down in towards the Casio Triangle. I think it's a bit too risky to go for a 130R move in this sort of situation, but he's going to go for it anyway. Looks towards the inside, and that may have ruined all the momentum he had coming down in towards the Casio Triangle. I would have waited there for the move on the brakes through the slow speed section, and as a result now Johan Harf will get himself P number 3 in LMP2.
Yeah, almost for Pascal Sticks, but not going to be able to make it done. Tom Valenti looking as though he managed to take the win in the LMP2 class as well. So all of your drivers now finishing this 1 hour race here at Suzuka, and it was full of action-packed racing. Nice clean racing as well from everyone, which is what we like to see.
It definitely is, as we'll have a little bit of a run through your finishing results for round number 5 of the iRacing Le Mans Series at Suzuka. Marcus Hamilton will take the race win from second on the starting grid. 1.3 seconds behind, though, is going to be Fabrice Cornès, who had an absolute monster of a first stint, but that second stint started to fall apart once Marcus Hamilton played the strategy card, coming down early, trying to get the undercut, and the undercut almost worked, but he managed to get the pass just 1 lap later to then eventually take the race win, did Marcus Hamilton. But you've also got Dominic Faber, Kazuki Umashima. Those two cars were fighting at the late stages of this race as well, managed to pick up P number 3 and P number 4 respectively. That's exactly how they lined up on the grid, involving Maxime Briant in 5th as well. And Joseph Burton Harris gets himself up 3 positions from P number 9 into P number 6. Ishmael Yakubu getting himself P number 7. Jubian Ribelau, P number 8. And Michael Schwanzel there in P number 9 with the last of the LMP1 cars on the leading lap. You have retirements of Thierry Renson, Ollie Kuka, and Frederick Evers. Looking to your LMP2 field, Tom Van Feeney will take the race win in LMP2. Then Christian Kiewit, Johan Harf, Pascal Sticks will bring things down to P number 4 with their fantastic battle in the late stages. You got Jesper Dricker, Ronnie Durig, Neil Andrews, Ronald Gross on what is going to be the LMP2 leading lap, and then you've got Robin Bondon and Daniel Berenson will be your retirees from that particular class. Looking at GTEs now, Alejandro Sanchez will take the race to win over Patrick Moser and Nestros Kioskalu. So things were relatively quiet at the front of your GTE field, but the mid-pack, involving Chris Fuller, Barry Morrison, Michael Rizzi, Bruno Fontalba, and Vincenzo Silvestri, that was action-packed, involving Kevin Siggy in P number 26 overall as well. Bastien Ramis, Florian Durant, Eric Vizzi, Carlos Dieguez, Wim Stockmans, and David Peña Jimenez will round out your entirety of your overall standings here. Well, we'll be back for the post-race show in just a couple of moments here on Racebot TV and on iRacing Live, and of course the very brand new iRacing eSports network. You don't want to go away. There's going to be an announcement from the one, the only Will Vincent after this.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
Oh, there we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Wonky! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
What a race we've had here today at Suzuka. Of course, don't forget, we have got ourselves 6 hours of Spa tomorrow here on Racesport TV, a part of the iRacing Esports Network. 6 long hours around one of the greatest race circuits in Europe. It's going to be fun. It's part of the VRS GT World Championship, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. And well, Connery, I did promise you an announcement. I'll give it to you after these interviews. So you have got, yeah, I'm going to make you work for this one. I'm going to start off. You've got yourself Fabrice Cornelis. He's stood by with you right now.
Yeah, we have Fabrice right here from the Pure Racing team. And, well, Fabrice, just take me through the start of that race, because it did seem like you had a very, very good amount of pace early on in that first stint. But things, shall we say, started to fall apart in the second one. So just take me through what happened there.
Yeah, hello guys, good evening. I don't know, I just had a very good start. I was comfortable about myself, and then the traffic came. I lost a lot of time in traffic the first time around the GTEs. So Marcus was closing like very fast, and yeah, then he just followed me very good through traffic till after the pit stop, and then he did it very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and just talk about the traffic as well, because that was a huge, huge factor in the race today, with how tight and twisty the circuit can be, with how much or lack of room to maneuver that you guys have out there. And you saw that you had opportunities over Marcus Hamilton when he got blocked by the traffic a little bit, because the track is so narrow, you weren't really able to capitalize on those opportunities. Is that a fair assessment there?
Well, yeah, it was just awesome to race on this track with so much traffic. I did one move in the S's. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I definitely saw it.
It might even be on our Facebook page in a few hours.
We were like kinda, I don't know. I just saw he was getting blocked by traffic, and I was, hey, let's try to ride to that corner. And at the end it worked out, because luckily Marcus was smart and didn't do like stupid stuff, and just, yeah, we were all holding our line very good. So if you just drive clean, it all works out at the end.
And another important factor in this race, as it is in pretty much any race the LMP1s involve themselves in, is the ERS management. How well were you managing your boost out there today? Because we saw a lot of drivers use it very, very strategically to defend and attack. But when you're in clear air, of course, you have a little bit more leeway of when to use it. So in terms of your strategy, how was that going for you?
Like I had specific places where I used it. It's also going automatic a bit, so it boosts out of every corner automatic. But I was having specific places, and then of course when you have a GT in front of you, and you see there's a corner going, you just press the button, so you like go faster and pass them before the corner. So just kind of traffic, like you can have some strategy in practice, but at the end in the race, it just everything is different. Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, Fabrice, is there anyone you want to thank for your P number 2 today?
Yeah, sure. I want to thank PRT in general. then Adolf Wallmeyer, Asher Racing, and Spuzu, and of course you guys for broadcasting. And yeah, everyone on track for having an awesome race. Was very good fun. I'm happy to be back.
Well, there we go. That was Fabrice Cornelis, P number 2, and all is said and done. Yeah, your LMP1 field will, but was looking for that race win. Almost had at least one step on the top podium, but then the halfway point came and things started to go a little bit wrong.
Yeah, but Connery, that could have gone either way with the traffic. We saw one thing that was big here today was the fact that traffic played a key role.
Yeah, it really did, and we actually have Jack Stiles here with who's going to be Dominic Farber, so another LMP1 driver with Jack Stiles.
Dominic, first of all, congratulations. Great finish on the podium here at Suzuka. What's it like knowing that you're battling for such a crucial position points-wise with quite possibly one of the best drivers in downforce cars and around a circuit which he's going to know very, very well, being his home circuit?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for the congratulations. I have to say it's quite astonishing for me to race against those guys. Yeah, I'm not on their level, I think, yet quite, and so it's quite surprising for me to be able to race against those guys, and especially against him. It was very tough. We were on the same pace basically for quite some time, and it was very tough to pass him. But then, I got the opportunity and I took it, and I'm very glad about that.
And of course, looking at the strategy as well, was that important in being able to just cement your position in third place, and of course strategy and as well track position with traffic?
Yeah, of course. Before my pit stop, I saw on the timing that the GTEs are coming up, and that I would get them next lap, and so I immediately decided to box, which I think was the best decision to do in that moment, because else I would have caught traffic and would have lost much time there. So even the strategy was on point today, I think. Energy management as well, strategy-wise, and so I can't complain really.
And of course, looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm sure that you're coming out of Suzuka on a high, knowing that you've done it once, you can surely do it again.
Yeah, of course. Last week I finished third as well in Spa. This week again, so I can definitely could continue like that. I would be happy about that.
And well, before we go and let you celebrate with your team, who'd you like to go and give a shout out to today?
Obviously my team. I had 2 teammates in the race as well who weren't as lucky as me today. So thanks to them, and thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
Dominic Farber, third place position today overall, and in LMP2 getting his second podium in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was a good result there by Dominic Farber in that number 31 car. Worth noting as well, Jack, that his iRating was 2,400 lower than your race winner, Marcus Hamilton, and just under 3,000 lower than Fabrice Cornelis.
It just proves that iRacing isn't everything, and of course some drivers are a lot stronger in certain cars and certain tracks. iRacing's a funny one from where I'm sat, and in my own personal opinion, but it's all about where you gain it and where you lose it. And if you have good races, you're obviously going to gain iRating quite easily. So for Dominic Farber, clearly proving that iRating isn't the all-out and end-out of everything.
Okay, heading over back to Connery, and he's got LMP2 driver, number 17 machine of Jesper Drifter, standing by with him right now.
Yeah, I have Jesper right here, and for a driver that started on pretty much the final row of the LMP2 class in qualifying, you've managed to get yourself a pretty decent result here, which is going to be P number 5 in class. So how was your charge for the field today?
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. But first of all, it was gut-wrenching, to say the least. I had to avoid quite a few incidents. There were a lot of close calls throughout the race with all the classes, P1s and GTEs, and luckily I was just able to keep it clean, not go off track too much, not hit anybody, and I was able to gain 4 places there through the race. And it kind of sucks I didn't have that kind of pace in qualifying, but I was able to make it up throughout the race.
Yeah, so with some drivers, their qualifying pace is a little bit worse, shall we say, than their race pace, but sometimes that is just the way of things. It just requires a little bit more work in the race for guys such as you, Jesper. But well, looking at the rest of this race now, you've got yourself involved in perhaps one of the more difficult classes to be in multi-class endurance racing, and that is the middle class. And we're not talking about socioeconomic status here. We're talking about the class that's not the fastest class and not the slowest class. And you have cars trying to come through on you, and you're trying to get past cars as well when it comes to traffic situations. And how exactly do you manage that behind the wheel?
I mean, it's all about just looking in your mirrors. You just have to be very patient. You can't expect anything to be given to you as well, and you have to be very communicative in when you're going to pass. When you see a P1 behind you, you got to be very clear. Okay, I'm holding this side of the track so you can pass me there, or vice versa with GTEs. Be like, place your car. Be like, hey, I'm about to pass you into this corner.
Yeah, you do really have to make your intentions known in that way, in that particular way. But looking at the next couple of races on the schedule right now, are there any tracks that really stand out to you as I'm probably going to get a pretty good result there if things fall my way?
Looking forward, next week I'd really like Road America and Monza as well. They're very simple tracks, obviously. So for me, I'm not a huge HPD wheeler, so having less corners will be nice for me. So hopefully we'll be able to convert those into nice results.
Yeah, hopefully. And is there anyone behind the scenes that you want to give a thanks to from Radicals Online or anyone else?
Well, everyone on Radicals Online for inviting me to their team. It's I just joined them here recently, and I'd like to thank Craig's Setup Shop for a very solid HPD setup. And I'd like to thank everyone on my Twitch stream for twitch.tv/Jesperoni for watching, and I'd like to thank you guys for doing a wonderful broadcast.
Well, thank you very much for giving us some great racing out there on the racing circuit. So that was Jesper Dricka, currently, getting P number 5 in class after starting pretty much near the back of that field. So good result for him, Will.
Indeed. So I'm trying to work out how to spell at the same time. We actually have got some fantastic highlight clips we are uploading to our social media feed right now. That is facebook.com/RaceBotTV. Of course, if you're watching us on the iRacing Esports Network, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the new home for all of your very best iRacing Esports action. And well, tomorrow, Connery, as I say, we have a 6-hour race going on at Spa.
Yes, we do. And endurance races at Spa, they're always an occasion, both in the sim racing world, and of course you've been to a couple in the real world side of things as well there, Will, with your annual trip to Spa to go and see the World Endurance Championship there, and we're looking to definitely put on a show for you guys this time.
Yeah, it's a biannual, it seems to be, because I didn't go 1 year when I was posted. I did go the year after, couldn't go the year after, went this year. I do want to go next year, actually, because I think it's going to be really fun, kind of closing off the super season. I did say that I had an announcement to make.
Go on.
Well, we are at Suzuka. And
yes,
a number of us have been sat there saying, you know what? You, RaceBot TV, were the first guys to ever have a 24-hour broadcast. We were right on that one. On the iRacing for an iRacing endurance race.
Yep.
And we'll say, well, we know some more things coming. LMP1's here, but we're actually not going to be using LMP1 for this. LMP1's here. And of course, the next big thing is going to be Day to Night. Now, we're not 100% sure that Day to Night is going to be coming in time. However, we have a new special event coming up, and we know the date, and we know the track. And it will be October the 27th and 28th of this year. It will be here at Suzuka, and it will be a race that will either be 10 hours or 24 hours long. We're working out the details on that one.
that's a pretty big difference between it being 10 hours and 24 hours, but it's definitely another race to pull on people's calendars.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we're debating between 10 and 24 hours is quite simple, because, of course, what we want to do is make full use of day to night. Now, this track, historically, they haven't really raced at night, Connery. So if iRacing do end up having, full 24-hour lighting here, fantastic. We'll do a 24-hour race. What we don't want to do, however, is use day to night when it's going to get to sunset, and I don't even know what will happen. It's not going to just randomly flick to 10 o'clock in the morning or something. But also, Blancpain do a 10-hour race here this year. This is the reason why we're thinking about a 10-hour race in the event we can't get 24 hours to work. However, that's only part of the thing. We're actually going to run it a bit like a master-style event. So we're going to have a number of spots which will have invited teams, and these will be teams who have been successful in the Blancpain in the VRS GT World Endurance Series, or the Blancpain GT Series as it was known back then, who've been successful in the iRacing Special events over the last couple of years, as well as the Neo Endurance Series and other things that we've done, like the Majors World Tour. The rest of it, just like we had at Spa, you qualify your way in.
Yeah, and we'll get further details up and posted on our social media channels about those particular events and when they get closer towards the date that they happen. But I think it's about time to just wrap up the broadcast a little bit here. Just a little bit of news about the races that are going on this weekend. We've got the Pro Mazda Championship at 2:45 a.m. GMT. That is going to be Jonathan Simone solo taking you through that series. We've got pretty much the main event of your Saturday afternoon at 1:45 GMT. There's going to be the VRS GT iRacing World Championship. Join myself, Paul Smith, and Randy Cheneth for that one. And a little bit later on in the evening, we've got the V8 Super Truck Series 9 p.m. GMT with Justin Prince and Paul Smith. And then on Sunday, we've got the Majors Series at 4 p.m. GMT. The classic British Grand Prix. Jake Sperry and Cameron Walsh will be taking you through the action for that particular event. But that's about all we have time for here on Friday Primetime on Racebot TV, iRacing Live, and the iRacing Esports Network. I've been Connery Maddock. That's been Jack Styles. Will Vincent behind the scenes giving us some special comments as well. And I'll see you guys next week.